How do we actually meet?
I think.
I just feel like I've known you forever.
Oh, now we're going aside. I think you screened at Black Lily Film Festival, and I missed the screening. But somehow I think you became acquainted with Reelblack through your involvement with Mayor in the Lily Film Festival. And then when Urban World hit and you had I Will Follow, you reached out to a bunch of us, you know, to start the African American Film Festival releasing movement.
Yes.
But I don't know the exact time we actually met face to face.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't remember.
I think the first time we met face to face might have been at Urban World when you had This Is the Life, or maybe when you're ready to do I Will Follow. But
clearly we did not impact each other very much in our memories since we have no recollection. But we move on.
Blue. You were wearing blue.
It was that day. There was a light streaming through the window.
He's got supporters. Detroit, New York, Los Angeles, inciting large-scale arrests and sympathy marches.
I'm very aware of that, Mr. Hoover. What I do know is he's nonviolent. What I need to know right now, what's Martin Luther King about to do next?
Mr. President, Dr. King is here.
Hi, I'm Mike, and this is Reelblack, and today it's December 16th, 2014.
That is the day, sir.
And you're making history.
Okay.
It's been documented. It's been destined. It's been predetermined.
Gotcha.
In 3 words, how does it feel?
Bittersweet. That very bittersweet. Is that 3 words?
Why do you say that?
Oh, because whenever the first thing comes up, it's it's bittersweet because I'm not the first. I'm not the first of anything. I'm not the first black woman to make something worth the attention. It's lovely. My mom is happy. It represents a lot of people who worked really hard on this movie. But, the first black woman nominee for this, and this, I think of Julie Dash, I think of Nima Barnett, I think of Donya Hamilton, I think of Dee Reese, I think of Gina Bythewood, I think of Casey Lemons. Like, those women's work comes to mind. So, bittersweet. Sweet in a moment and bitter in another.
Absolutely. Well, I love the film. I have to say that and make it on record. And what I most appreciate when I was seeing the images and seeing it is like, wow, this is our history. And it's being told from a black person's point of view. When you were approached with the opportunity to make this film, how did it connect with you?
Well, my entry point was really Selma, because King is too much to really grasp. But Selma I know because my father's from Lowndes County, Alabama. When you come off the bridge from Selma to Montgomery, you come into Lowndes County, Alabama, so that's where he's from. So many summers, many Mother's Day, Father's Days, Christmases, that's where I'll be this Christmas season, Selma, Montgomery area. So I knew that, and that was my entry point. And from there I was able to, really expand my mind in places that I hadn't before because my previous films are very much, intimate tales of black life, whole films that can be done in one house, in one room, on one street, and so this is horses and tear gas and green screen and firearms and shutting down 2 state capitals and, like a lot of other technical work that I hadn't done, which wasn't hard, but it was tackling the big ideas of King, of the movement, of the historical context of all of this. It just really was opening my mind in a different direction.
Yeah, we'll talk about making the leap from independent film to a big budget studio feature. What are the challenges? What's different about it?
Well, the cool thing about this was that we didn't make it as a studio picture. It was made independently by these French people with a lot of money called Pathé. French financiers that always had this money in hand. They just couldn't trigger the money until they had a distributor in the U.S. So when Paramount came on, it triggered the money. But it was still their money. So it was made independently with their money. So with that said, it was a really beautiful transition for me technically because it wasn't kind of the trappings of the studio. And it allowed me to kind of do me in a way that I was comfortable with. And certainly Oprah being there, Miss Winfrey being there, gave me all of the backup and protection I needed to really be able to focus on my vision and not worry about a lot of the other stuff.
You work for Mr. Dunn down at the rest home, ain't that right?
Yes, sir.
Wonder what old Dunn will say when I tell him one of his gals down here stirring a fuss.
I ain't stirring no fuss. I'm just here trying to register the vote.
Recite the Constitution's preamble. You know what a preamble is?
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
How many county judges in Alabama?
67.
Name them.
You're in the midst of making history here. You are, but it's a long journey. I mean,
Yeah.
and I know Middle of Nowhere would have been your first film if you had your druthers, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you share what that story was about?
Well, my first script I ever wrote was Middle of Nowhere. And that's when I thought you could only make films by asking for permission. And so I went around asking for permission. And people were like, no, we do not want to make that film. And so the failure of getting Middle of Nowhere up and running at first really spurred me to start thinking independently. So it was a gift that didn't happen in that way. And so I tried to figure out something that I could make without asking for permission, without asking for money. I had a little bit of money, so I wrote something for that little bit of money. That was I Will Follow.
Right.
And yeah, it was just, hand to mouth, making stuff for whatever I could, however I could.
Yeah, I like the quote. You should say it on camera for me, where you say, instead of buying a house, I bought a career.
Yeah. I said that once, and now it's been picked up, but it's true. It's true. Yeah. I had $50,000 that I'd been saving to buy a house. My mother was just on me. I bought a house when I was 23 in Compton in 1970. She just, because I was like 30 and I had not bought a house. And she was disappointed in that, and I knew it, so I started saving money to do this, and disappointed her again because I ended up making the movie with it instead, I Will Follow. So it all turned out. She's happy now.
At the premiere?
At the premiere 2 nights ago, New York City, my mom looking gorgeous with my dad at the Ziegfeld in New York for the big star-studded red carpet. And yeah, I think it all worked out.
That's got to be the best part, being able to share with your family.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
But,
and my sisters and my brothers.
But what's really great about your journey here is that you're sharing with so many people. Like, you've been called the Harriet Tubman of Black independent film.
Who said that? I got fighting words.
All right, so people
That's
watching
horrible.
this and saying,
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Oh,
But
the Harriet Tubman of Black independent film? First of all, it's funny. I think somebody's got jokes. They're just trying to, okay.
All right, but what's the mission here? I mean, what should folks be doing? Like, you've been behind the curtain. What's lacking? What do we need to make this keep continuing?
Not keeping your eye off the ball and not worrying about what's on the other side of the curtain. Because it's a wizard and he's just a regular man. You know what I mean? He's just, it's truly, if we're going to use that analogy, once they got there, it was just a man pulling strings. And what they had out. Are we doing Wizard of Oz analogies? Are we really doing this?
Go for it.
But I mean, what they had before was just fine, and they had their own stories, their own way of telling stories, and each other, and that worked on the yellow brick road to freedom.
So, last two. So now it's
He's not laughing, but there's someone behind the camera who understands my jokes.
You took us to freedom.
There.
You took us to freedom. So, what defines this moment? You said it's not asking for permission.
Yeah.
Defines this moment. Was there a film that you saw in this wave of Black cinema that you looked at and you said, I could do that. I want to be a part of this conversation?
It was probably. It was somewhere around Barry and Tina Mabry, I think. Tina Mabry's Mississippi Damned and Barry's Medicine for Melancholy, somewhere around there. I think I was already writing, but just the approach to doing it, very stark, very independently, didn't need to be Sanaa Lathan and Idris Elba. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be that. Who were my original ideas for Middle of Nowhere? It's going to be Sanaa, Idris, and like Marlon Wayans or something, which would have been interesting. but more expensive.
Right.
So yeah, it was Imiazzi, David, and Omari, which, you know, now I can see no one else in those roles. And it was done for $200,000. And it was a beautiful experience.
It opened the door for so much more, so much potential. I always say that it's already there, you just have to do the work to get to uncover it. It's always been there. So words of advice or final thoughts, where do you see Ava DuVernay?
Final thoughts, this is it?
Well, you know, we got to, you know, we'll catch up.
Okay.
So final thoughts, words of advice, where's Ava DuVernay in 5 years? Where is she in 10 years?
Oh, God. I don't know. I just want to keep making things. I don't want to, just with Selma being, you know, on billboards and on TV. I just walked out of the hotel room here that we're in, and as we were walking out, I turned on TV, and there's a big Selma commercial, and there's a big, you know, like Selma. Things that we can't buy with a firm to give a filmmaker. I'm getting all those things through Paramount Pictures and this whole big thing, and it's beautiful, and I value it, and it's a beautiful time to see something that you've made, like, you know, amplified. You know, but I intend to make pictures whether or not the next thing is at this level or not. You know, I just need to know, similar to Spike, I just continue on my path that I've always said, is you need to just stay shooting. You know, he makes docs, he makes features, he makes narratives, he makes short, long, commercials, you know what I mean? You know, branded stuff. I mean, he does everything. Now online content, and I've never talked with him about it. I barely know him, but the example that he gives me is stay shooting, stay doing what you love, no matter the size, no matter the destination. Just keep telling the story. So that's what I intend to do. This is a great moment. You know, who knows if it can be sustained? It's not something I'm super thinking about. There's no precedent. There's no blueprint for me to really follow, except Spike. To do what I want to do, I want to be making movies 20 years from now. So the way he did it was made something all the time, and that's what I want to try to do.
Awesome. Well, you know, 5-year journey, probably 10 years before that, but you're doing it. I'm so proud of you, sis. You know, there's nobody better that can carry this flag that could have made this film. Selma, you know, it's your time. And I think people really, for this to continue, she just rattled off a bunch of names. There's so many more people with talent, just as much talent, and it's just.
Let's say some names.
I'll go with Justin Simeon.
Okay, I'll say Lena Waithe.
Okay, peas in the pod.
Yeah,
I'll go with Tanya Hamilton.
Okay, I'm gonna shout out. We already did Tina Mabry, but I'm gonna shout her out again.
Okay, I'll say Rel Dowdell.
I'll give you Victoria Mahoney.
Wow. Okay. Wait, you might have trumped me there.
Now we're in New York.
Victoria's bad. You got to go see that movie. You got to go see that.
Yep.
Yelling to the Sky. I will go. You. It's your turn. You have to do this.
I like that. You watching. You're next.
Looks like an army out there.
This revolution goes on and on. This revolution goes on and on. Mine eyes have seen the glory, 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 hallelujah.
What happens when a man stands up, says enough is enough?
Hi, I'm Ava DuVernay, and you're watching Reelblack.